Happy New Year, guys! Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Hey, Adam G. So, how are you all doing? Kamusta na kayo, guys? Well, in case you might have noticed, I have been taking a full break from pageant vlogging here for quite some time now to attend again to my backlog at work. After my back-breaking back-to-back trips to El Salvador, Cambodia, and Vietnam for Miss Universe, Universal Woman, and Miss Earth for the past 2 months. I am 40 years old now, so I have been noticing how my body has been reacting differently to stress, puyat, and pagod for all the numerous international pageant coverages I have been doing. So here I am taking my sweet time to rest and take it easy while spending more time with my family at home during this holiday season. And along with that, I got so enamored to going back to our movie houses to support the ongoing Metro Manila Film Festival. And mind you, I have already watched 3 movies so far and I love all of it. I watched Family of Two, Firefly, and Gomburza. Movies I highly recommend you should all watch too because of its content and appreciation for our family values, history, and culture. All of these movies talaga made me think as to how cinema can really affect one's consciousness as a conduit to spark change or inspire nation building through its storyline. Now, there is so much hope in our country if we only learn how to appreciate and relearn our history and culture to move forward. And it is in this aspect that made me come out with another content about our homegrown pageant, Miss Earth, who has been existing for more than 20 years in the pageant industry but still seems to be underappreciated by many, whether Filipinos or international fans alike. In my previous content, I invited Sir Mark Liga Chalian to talk about his observations and findings about the recently concluded Miss Earth finals in Vietnam. And even though we spent 2 hours discussing it, I feel there is still so much more to discuss about this pageant. Even though it has been in existence for more than 20 years now, this Filipino-owned environmental pageant has not been enjoying a huge following on social media despite being active and consistent in attracting more than 80 contestants year in and out. So in this vlog, I will try my best to discuss why I think it has been doing wrong in terms of branding and execution of its production, especially during the recently concluded pageant or edition in Vietnam, and how it could elevate and gain more audience or following in the years to come. So here are my suggestions. So guys, I've got 3 suggestions here. So number 1 is hire a competent social media manager to make Miss Earth a more engaging pageant as a platform. Kasi guys, 'di ba, when we talk about Miss Earth, it's an international pageant event aimed at promoting or spreading environmental awareness. And I think Miss Earth has been very successful with its core messaging. In fact, they're very unapologetic with it, right? When we think about Miss Earth, it's a contest also about a delegate's environmental advocacy and how much information or knowledge she knows about the environment. Hence, we get to learn so many new information about the environment every year, and the people behind the organization make sure it is never lost in its mission of finding on that lady who could be the best spokesperson for the environment. And it's up to us, the fan following of Miss Earth, to digest and take to heart everything that it stands for. So if you translate it into visuals, everything is about nature and how to protect it. So we get so many visuals about all of it on all of the videos, whether eco, landmark, tourism, or even the girls' introduction or pasarela videos online, especially before the pageant starts. However, I feel the organization has become stuck in implementing this idea that it somehow no longer thought of other ways to convey its message about environmental awareness and preservation. Kasi guys, if for the past few years I noticed this set of videos has been part of the requirement for the girls to submit before the physical competition starts or takes place. And unfortunately, it is also the same reason. This is also the same reason that led to the removal of its YouTube account recently. And a competent social media manager would have foreseen this scenario. And this needs to be highlighted because it is so alarming, as nobody from Carousel Productions was aware how YouTube has been working when it comes to churning out original content on its platform. Apparently, some of the girls in last year's batch submitted unoriginal videos detailing its famous landmarks in their respective countries, which might have led for its original YouTube account to be removed. All of a sudden, so as a result of all of a sudden, a new Miss Earth YouTube account was being created while the pageant was already ongoing in Vietnam. Had there been a social media manager assigned to do some fact-checking about all the videos being submitted online, then this would not have happened at all. And I hope Carousel Productions revisits its set of online requirements because we are no longer in a pandemic situation. So everything is back to normal, and I feel there is no need for them to ask its contestants numerous videos requirement. So how I wish it could replace it with more dynamic or interactive videos instead, which would engage its following. Like, let's say it could do its own version of Super Chat interview series where these girls are asked about their environmental awareness know-how either on its YouTube channel or TikTok to engage the following even more. Kasi guys, I feel Miss Earth or Carissa Productions needs to think outside the box in interacting with its audience, and I feel it is not harnessing enough its full potential, knowing it could do so many things to make environmental learning so cool and fun apart outside the eco video landmark package videos that we are so accustomed to seeing. And it is also in this aspect that its social media manager should also be full-time in working and promoting all its social media accounts to the public through its various content. However, kasi guys, di ba, napansin nyo, most of the time, the content that Miss Earth organization churns out on all its social media accounts are very unexciting, or shall I say, boring. And we are so proud of our newly crowned Miss Earth queens year in and out, but the present social media manager of Miss Earth has failed to present its queens in the most impactful way it could generate to prop up engagement and following on social media. Kasi we keep asking these ladies the hardest environmental questions during the pageant, but we do not get to see that application of environmental know-how translated on all of its social media platforms. Hence, it feels more rhetoric at the end of the day. So why do I say this? Because for the longest time, we only equate a reigning Miss Earth Queen's reign to her success depending on the number of countries that she has visited throughout her reign. And for an organization who has been championing about environmental awareness, don't you think that the queens should be doing more than that? Apparently, that's the only thing that we are seeing on their social media accounts, and not much is seen or heard from our reigning queens regarding the other aspects of their reign, which could give more weight or value to her reign. And I noticed that when a reigning queen visits a particular country, she only does one specific activity, which is to attend the local organization's coronation night. And after that, nothing is much heard. So it makes me question why this has been the norm or practice when our queens could do so much more. Kasi we don't get to see our queens going to environmental seminars or conferences, or even continuing her advocacy work during her reign. And I don't know if it is because no one from the organization is documenting it, or that particular queen has completely abandoned her advocacy altogether, to which I highly doubt. So this is why this particular social media manager that I am suggesting should be part of the reigning queen's travels to document every single move that this particular Miss Earth title holder does in that particular country, or in all the countries that she is visiting. For sure, there are other initiatives or other public appearances from our queens that remain undocumented because no one is accompanying her to do it. So, just to reference it, huwag na tayo lumayo. sa malayo. Just look at how Miss Universe organization has been doing it with the reigning queens. I've seen how Miss Universe has been coming here in Manila so many times with a team who would document her every single move on the ground, and we would get to see those footages days or weeks after on all its social media accounts. So why am I saying this? Because I observed that there is no strong fan engagement about Miss Earth's post. And I am only seeing it when it's during the coronation night or even days after. Kasi there is not so much activity on their social media accounts except for sponsorship posts and photos from crucial activities like the photo shoots, the swim glam shot photo shoots, and prelim competition. So contrast that to how Miss Universe El Salvador Instagram account did it during Miss Universe in El Salvador 2 months ago. Granted that Miss Universe El Salvador is not the official Instagram account of Miss Universe, it still went out its way to cover and document every activity of the contestants on the ground to delight of all of us following the pageant. And as a result, that particular account gained more than 300,000 followers at the end of the show. So I know it's additional budget for Carousel Productions to do this, but if it would like to be perceived as a strong brand and enjoy huge international following, then a revamp on all its social media content need to be done ASAP. And now we go to my second suggestion, which is to make their visuals and environmental theme learning much more fun and interactive when it comes to execution. As what I have said in my previous case, I feel Carousel Productions has become stuck with its execution or reinforcement of its environmental theme over the years, that we have only been getting a literal translation of it every telecast, despite despite Vietnam's TNA Entertainment now coming in to start helping them this year. What am I talking about? Literal translation like flowers, trees, falling leaves, a forest set backdrop, or in the LED background, and the views that it leaves nothing more to the imagination. For example na lang, the opening number during the recently concluded edition in Vietnam is a perfect example of that. The ladies were dressed in beautiful, elegant outdyes with the obvious lotus flower as the backdrop in the LED. While I do get that the lotus flower as a reference to Vietnam's culture, everything else was very done in a very boring way. The music and flow of the production in this segment were so unexciting that I did not feel the energy of the crowd. And I feel when you do opening numbers, it's really supposed to be fun and festive, as that sets the tone of your entire show. And I would have loved for these girls to move around with those salakots or Vietnamese hats as a prop to make the show more visually appealing. Because let's face it, guys, there have been other pageants in the past that were also staged in Vietnam in recent memory, and as much as they were also trying to be respectful to the Vietnamese culture, they still made their opening numbers or opening shows still fun and exciting to watch. Don't get me wrong, guys. I do get that the Ao Dais as part of the traditional costume of the Vietnamese, but I wish they could have worn it during top 20 announcement or in an individual video, which would have been seen on the huge LED screen at the back while the girls were probably doing their intros. So this is why I can't help but compare this opening number to the opening number of Miss Earth last year in Manila, where it was more festive and fun while the girls were wearing their interpretation of Animal Safari in swimwear. The only missing thing in that Manila edition is a great camera angling work na walang-wala compared sa Vietnam. And I also say the same thing about how the evening gown segment of this competition was done. All the girls who made it to top 12 were wearing green-colored gowns, which again was an obvious reference to the environmental color. Having made them wear green, in my opinion, really killed the excitement of the show, as there was no more element of surprise. So when Iliana was so extra with her movement of her embellished gown, that was the only time I felt awake during that segment of the show. And the mere fact that I had to use the word extra to describe Iliana's performance here makes me feel a bit sad, since we normally associate that word in another pageant. Kasi guys, in my opinion, there are other ways to convey your environmental message without being too literal about it. Even the choice of background music lacks excitement. It hardly contributes to the excitement of the show. And there are so many great song choices in the YouTube library that may not be too expensive to purchase for royalty rights. And it's sad that Carissa Productions hasn't, or probably TNA Entertainment has not taken advantage of this kind of technology. Diba? So moving to the host naman, James Deakin was back in the show for the end time, but with a female Vietnamese co-host this time around. And I hope you all won't get mad, but I feel this is James Deakin's weakest performance as a host. Or I don't know if it's either he has run out his course, he has run his course as a host, or he was only dragged down by his female co-host this time around. Individually, they might be okay, but together, they lack the chemistry. There were even parts where James Deakin was killing the suspense of the announcement of countries advancing or moving forward to the competition with his unnecessary or cringy clues of that particular country beforehand. So somehow he slowly killed the fun and excitement of the show. So this is why I would have loved for Carousel Productions and TNA Entertainment to sit this one down and come up with fresh faces next time who could be providing dynamic energy to infuse in the show. Like, for the lack of better recall, probably get a male Vietnamese host as exciting as PK from Miss Universe Thailand, and a beautiful lady who has a personality to match PK's hosting prowess on stage. So can they get Joey Mead instead? Because I think she has the personality and the gumption to make Miss Earth a spectacle to watch for 2 hours. And at this point, can you blame the audience for finding it very monotonous and boring? And who would like to watch a 2 to 3 hour pageant with a boring content? And it did not help that the final question was very intellectual and academic. Yes, it tested the girls' knowledge about the latest goings on about the environment. It was about coals as a determinant for the phase out of fossil fuels. And listening very closely to the question, it felt like scaring us viewers as the topic was very serious. And who would like to sit the entire 3 hour show who is trying to scare you in the end, right? Do I make sense? So yup, I do get that it was a test of the girls' environmental knowledge, but hearing that question that could contribute to the end or demise of our world, one could really get spooked. So serious the question was that nobody among the top four answered it directly or brilliantly. Albania didn't directly answer the question but was very confident in sounding right. Thailand naman only almost answered it well, which confused me why she only got the Fire Elemental crown. And of course, Iliana Duana just acknowledged it as part of her answer. So I just wish, nakita nyo, hindi naman nasagot lahat. So I just wish the question would have been easier but still touch up on something about the environment. Like, for example, what could be their favorite sustainable product and why? Just so the remaining contestants can talk about something light and fun to listen to for a change and not be spooked or puzzled as to how hard and academic the environmental question was. I mean, don't get me wrong, guys. I am okay with these hard-hitting environmental questions which test the mettle of these ladies in front of a million audience from time to time. But if the eventual winner will only end up visiting or traveling to different countries to crown the successor of her batchmate during her entire reign, then it just defeats the whole purpose of being asked a very difficult environmental question during the finals. Unless our ladies will be participating front and center in a UN summit or conference in New York or somewhere else, or be the person who will use, or be that person that we will use as a shield against the impending solar storm coming our planet very soon, then I don't really see why we have to test the environmental knowledge of these ladies at this juncture of the competition. Which brings me back to my previous point earlier, for sure, that our reigning queens can do so much more than just visiting countries just for the glitz and glam. But given a chance, just like how Iliana has been doing it with her reign so far, our queens could elevate the brand of Miss Earth if there is only a dedicated team of carousel productions or a couple of competent social media managers who could manage their social media accounts well by presenting its queens in the best light. Back in the day, we had former Miss Earth title holders doing a lot of groundwork apart from appearing in a UN summit, and those have remained undocumented. Because that's pure advocacy work, and it's a tragedy that it's not being highlighted so much during a Miss Earth Queen's reign. But when it comes throughout the whole show, it's all about advocacy, advocacy, and advocacy, and how it could help her community. So it kind of dampens the mood and excitement of the show because we as the audience are forced to listen to all of it during the show, during the finals night. And what Miss Earth should do instead is probably tone down its advocacy rhetoric and focus more on the entertainment value of the show during the finals, because that has been the purpose of watching a pageant in the first place, to make us enjoy the whole show. And probably I can just reference my comparison to how Miss Universe has been doing it with their finals telecast. As you have been noticing, we only get to see a Miss Universe title holder doing so much. Diba, as you can see, diba, the Miss Universe queens have been doing a lot of advocacy work, like spreading awareness about HIV, participating in numerous charity programs like In God's Time We Deliver, and other charity programs throughout her reign. But in the telecast, that is only being talked about. That advocacy work is only being talked about once the reigning queen is being called for a little Q&A or chat at the start of the show with the host, right? And at the end of the day, Miss Earth is still a show, so it has to give the entertainment value its audience deserves to have. Reducing its content about advocacy or environmental knowledge, or its literal translation of what environment is all about, could really spell wonders for the show. I do get it's Miss Earth, it's about the environment, but when we don't have to be reminded of it the whole time in each segment of the telecast. So let the fun begin for a change, right? And now we go to my third and final suggestion, which I have been talking about for quite some time now, or what you guys have been noticing, which is to hire a professional interpreter during Q&A of the finals night. We have already tackled this in my previous content about Miss Earth, and this really needs to be emphasized over and over again. It just puzzles me why Carousel Productions has never made an effort to hire professional interpreters during the pageant. This has become a problem with their production for so long, and it just puzzles me why it has been taken this for granted. There are some contestants who do not have English as their first language, and so it's a struggle for them to be forced to speak in English in one of the most crucial stages of the competition. The reason why I want to highlight this problem is because it is this particular reason why this pageant has never evolved or improved for the better. And I will give you an example. Miss Brazil Morgana Carlos was one of the top 8 contestants during the Q&A round. Unfortunately, there was no Portuguese translator on standby to help her answer her question in her native language, so we were left with no choice but to hear her struggle with her answer. And this scenario reminds me of the time when another Miss Brazil also got waylaid in this very same segment way back in 2014. Miss Brazil was also a front runner for the crown then. It was just so heartbreaking and frustrating to see her got waylaid also just like that, in the absence of a competent interpreter on stage. Hence, she didn't win the crown, not even part of the elemental crown, despite her answer being decently interpreted by her fellow contestant. So you see, it's the same problem, and Carousel Productions has failed to address this deficiency in its more than 20 years of existence. And I don't get why, considering that it is earning a lot of profit from its generous sponsors here in and out. So if this kind of scenario keeps on happening, so can we just humbly ask them to make a new ruling to all their national directors to field a candidate who could speak decent English or conversational English at the very least. So there you go, guys. What do you think about my suggestions for the improvement of Miss Earth brand in the years to come? So far, these are the only suggestions that I could think of. And it has only been in recent time that I fell in love with Miss Earth as a brand that I suddenly thought of doing this content for the improvement, because this brand has so much promise talaga and potential to grow, but it just lacks the right moves and execution to implement it. Over the years, it has become stagnant and has never improved with its social media content and production, so it has become a target for criticism among its fan following and critics alike. Because for me, one of the hallmarks of a successful company is its ability to adapt to changes or to thrive in a new environment or modernity in this case. But unfortunately, this is where Miss Earth has failed to acknowledge. And this is why I am making this content, and it pains me as a Filipino that our homegrown brand has areas that still needs a lot of improvement. If it starts adapting to changes and a lot more funds or budget to make this edition a spectacle to watch, then it will gain more followers and gain appreciation from its existing fan base, allowing a whole new generation of pageant fans to support and rally with their very important mission in the world, which is to promote environmental protection and conservation.